The question everybody's wondering, did we hit a bottom? Are we going back up? With that being said, for the overall SPY, we need to hit that $5,900 level just to make it more noticeable, just to secure it a little bit more to the upside. But for the past couple of days, we have been looking a little bit green and or just fluctuating, as you guys can see, but been printing some green candles. But with that being said, today we are opening up overall green. But with that being said, the day looks pretty green. We got Tesla up almost 10% already, Nvidia for almost 4%, Apple 0.5, and we got some other ones like Meta, Google, Amazon. A lot of green stocks. I mean, look at this, mainly green, and then we got some neutral, and then we got some red. But honestly, there's very few red in the overall SPY. So does that mean? Are we going back up? Did we hit a, is that bottom from the other day confirmed? And or are we gonna still go back down? With that being said, we can still kind of go back down. I mean, especially, just like one or two more red days. I mean, we take the elevator down, so all we gotta do is maybe two more red days and we can hit new lows. With that being said, we have been consolidating a little bit and been pretty green for a little bit. So with that being said, if we can hit that $5,900 level, it can kind of confirm it a little bit more and make us even more green and reach those highs once again. But with that being said, just have your patience because, we might be going up, might be going down. With that being said, I'm going to be telling you guys some more price action, some more support, some resistance, and all that a little bit later. But let's get into some news, and then we'll give you guys some plays and support some resistance. With that being said, we have IBM has been added to the names of companies to benefit from AI spending. So keep IBM on your mind. We are up 1.64% and can be up even more. Some other things, stocks climbs as easing tariff worries spark risk on asset markets. So basically, we're kind of just having more of like tariff relief kind of, but not like too much tariff relief. But April 2nd, Trump kind of came out with some, a little bit more tariff softening, and the market is loving it. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But NVIDIA supercomputers to power AI factory in South Africa. This might benefit NVIDIA a little bit more. So keep NVIDIA on your mind and on your radar. With that being said, Boeing, we got to talk about Boeing because honestly, man, we have been, pretty low, like 137 and even 147. But recently we've seen a big uptrend basically, and we're already up at that 182. With that being said, Boeing, we could see at that 188. We got price targets of 207, 230, 250, and then that 267. I'm not saying it's going to get all the way up here, but you guys may be wondering what is the news. So we're going to start off with some soft news. So basically, there's solid Q1 deliveries, improved free cash flow outlook, and basically they came out with more orders for their new Boeings, and some old Boeings like what people own. The parts are getting ordered even more too. So basically, people ordering planes is higher, people ordering parts is higher. So that's one reason. But another thing is that basically fighter jet. So basically, let's start off first with Lockheed because Lockheed lost the deal with, and then Boeing got the deal basically. So look at Lockheed on the downside and Boeing to the upside. But basically, there's a new jet coming out. So it is going to be a multi-billion-dollar jet. I think right now the contract is like 20 billion right now. It can change, but with that being said, the F-47, which is honestly insane, but it is the net over the next decade with new stealth and long-range strike capabilities, and it will be fielded over the next decade. So if you really think about this contract is going to be out for a while to make the plane, and then it's going to be out while the plane is out, especially for parts and all of that. So keep this one on your mind and on your radar because this one can be a decent amount. And right here could top $50 billion, and that's a government contract. Boeing already has their commercial planes and some other military planes too, but another $50 billion deal, that is kind of insane. So keep Boeing on your mind because Boeing is going to be continuing up, and those price targets I said before, this is a great play to make to the upside. We can, minimum we can see this at 200, and maximum we can see this at 270 and even break above that. So keep 270 on your mind and on your radar. With that being said, we can get up to even 278 to that 280. So keep those price targets on your mind. But if you do want to get into a play, even a short-term play, I do recommend playing this short-term. You can also have this in your long-term portfolio too, just because it's a decade deal, and it's a contract, it's a military contract. But you can have this in your long-term and or a short-term play. And even, me personally, I got some short-term and I got this into a long, but I'm going to be playing it and seeing how it reacts to that 210 and that 220. And then if it holds that 220 strong, I might hold that option play until 230 and then just sell out at 230. It can go higher too, but don't be too greedy with it, With that being said, let's get some news, some other news too. So to start, this is earnings for this week. So if you guys want, you guys take a screenshot. The ones that I'm pumped about is Tuesday, you got GameStop, and then Wednesday, you got Dollar Tree, Chewy, and some other ones too. But if you guys want, you guys can screenshot this, have earnings on your mind and on your radar, especially if you're invested into these. And you can even make some short-term plays with that. With that being said, if you wanted me to go through the overall calendar, you guys can go to the video that I made yesterday for the week opening. But with that being said, I mean, if you want to screenshot this, you can, and or market watch. I normally just look up stock market calendar. But today we already had the PMI come out, and we had 54.3, which beat expectations. But the manufacturing kind of went lower, which was 49.8. So I mean, we did great with the services, but the manufacturing wasn't as good. We do have Fed president speaks at 1:45 p.m. Might move it, might not, and we also got a governor speaking at 3:10, which is like what 50 minutes before market close. It might move the market, but you never know. But for tomorrow, we also got another speaker. We got S&P Home Price Index, so that's at 9 a.m. And then we also got, another person speaking consumer confidence and new home sales. These might move the market, so keep that in mind. An hour after market open, so 10 a.m. We do have DNA testing firm 23andMe. They're filing for bankruptcy, and I mean, okay, so it's lower. It had lower demand, and the CEO actually left, and the stock is just dropping. I mean, look at this thing; it's down 50% already. So I mean, you can probably play it on the downside, but I mean, it probably already lost most of its like stock price, but it is down 50%. You might even see another 50% loss. So if you want to short this stock, this is a decent one to look at. So keep this one in your mind and on your radar because, I mean, you might be able to make a little bit more money. So this one is a decent one, but ticker symbol ME. But with that being said, NVIDIA, AMD, Meta is leading the stock rally as tariff news, AI breakthroughs boost sector. So basically just the tariff softening and the AI breakthroughs. So keep these stocks on your mind and on your radar. So NVIDIA, AMD, and Meta, and don't forget Boeing. I got to say that again. But with that being said, just like I said, the April 2nd, he's kind of just like calling it dirty 15, but basically just the markets are loving it. But with that being said, most active stocks, Nvidia, Tesla, Palantir, DMB, and then EDR. Palantir is a decent one to look at. We're at 95. Literally last week we were at 90. So we are going up a decent amount with Palantir. I personally invested at, I think, 70, 75. No, I think 82. I think I invested at 82 for my long term, and I'm not regretting it at all. With that being said, let's talk about some other things. So the SPY rose by 1.5%, the NASDAQ climbed 1.8%, and the Dow Jones average added 1.2% already. So the trade policy developments, so reports indicate that the U.S. administration plans to implement more targeted tariffs than previously anticipated, focusing on about 15% of nations with trade imbalances, alleviated some investors' concern about broad trade disruptions. Corporate earnings outlook. So analysts have grown cautious regarding first quarter earnings due to potential global trade tensions. Notably, companies like Apple, Tesla, and Ford has contributed to lower earnings estimates, with the SPY earnings growth forecast reduced 7.7% year over year, which is kind of big. Some sector highlights. So we got technology, the Magnificent Seven tech stocks. Yeah, Alphabet. Alphabet's just dying. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, I want to look at it in a minute. But Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla showed signs stabilizing earnings revisions and potential halting in their recent underperformance as the earnings season approaches. Keep in mind that we do have earnings seasons coming out. Brent crude oil futures increased by 0.60%, and gold futures rose by 0.30%, indicating positive movements in the committee. So looking ahead, so we got trade negotiations. Investors should monitor ongoing trade discussions, particularly regarding the U.S. and the tariffs set to be announced on April 2nd. So the potential for negotiations to mitigate trade tensions remains a critical factor for market stability. Earnings seasons, with first quarter earnings reports approaching, close attention to corporate guidance will be essential, especially for companies previously lowering forecasts due to tariff concerns. So with that being said, let's look at the charts. So first off, I want to get into TLT. If you guys don't know what TLT is, it's basically like it moves opposite with SPY, right? So I'm bringing this up because we're green with SPY, and TLT is consistently dropping. And as we've seen recently, which I'm going to pull up in a minute, SPY has been going up. So with that being said, what we've seen before is that people would sell out of their SPY and kind of buy into, TLT staples and stuff like that, dividends. So TLT is currently dropping and is dropping at a consistent rate. With that being said, SPY is going up and going up at a consistent rate too. With that being said, did we hit a bottom? We don't know yet. We did have a big down day on Friday, which kind of draws some uncertainty. But now over the weekend, we've seen a big rise in the stock market overall. But with that being said, we finally broke that 570 level, like I said before, and breaking that means something big because we were testing it multiple times and we didn't break past it. With that being said, since we broke that, I would look at that 575, that 577, that 579, and that 580. Break above that 580, we might even get 582, 583, and then 585. So keep that in mind for this week. And then going down, that 570 level, that 571 and then 570 level is going to be two key levels. And then that 569 level, that 568, and then 566, and then that 559 level, just because it's the lows, or 558, I guess. But yeah, with that being said, Apple, we are kind of going up. I mean, all these stocks are going to be up, but I recommend looking at that 221.4, 223, 224. NVIDIA, hopefully we can see something great with NVIDIA. I did load up a little bit earlier, before when we hit those bottoms on NVIDIA at that 105 level. I think I loaded up like 110, but that's besides the point. I missed out on $5. But with that being said, I will look at that 123.7, 125, 127, and that 130 is going to be a key level. If you can break above that 130, we can get 133.96 and then 137.3. Palantir, I got to include Palantir because Palantir is looking great. I will look at that $100 level first. So we can break above that $100 level, 102, 104, 107, and then that 110 level. Tesla, okay, we're gonna look at it both sides because Tesla, oh my god, look at this, bro. We raised up almost let's look at 247 and all the way up to 270, which is insane. But for Tesla, I will be looking at that 270 was a key level, and if we can stay above this, we can see it consistently go up. We are kind of red right now, as you guys can see. Not really red, but we are kind of breaking, not really breaking past the 270 quite yet, but we did hit that 274. So look at that 275 level first. If we break above that 280, we'll be a little bit more bullish, and then we can probably get 285, and then maybe even test that 290. If we get that 290, look at 300 for the next level. I think we can break above that 300 if we continue this momentum upwards. But if we don't, just keep that in mind that we might not be able to. But there's a chance to. With that being said, next one I want to look at is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has been raising a lot. We broke that $85,000 level, and then we just been spiking upwards. With that being said, I will look at that $90,000 level. If we break above that $90,000 level, we could probably even get 95, and then maybe, just maybe, we can see it at that $100,000 level. But why do I include Bitcoin? I love to look at MSTR because I gave you guys a play on Friday, and if you guys listened to me, you would have made a lot of money. With that being said, just look at how Bitcoin moves and base your trade off of this, because MSTR moves exactly, maybe not exactly with Bitcoin, but it moves pretty close to Bitcoin. MSTR and Coinbase too. Coinbase, you can look at that 205 and that 210 level, and then MSTR, I'll be looking at that 230 and then going up to that 340 and then maybe even 350 upwards if we can continue upwards with Bitcoin. Just have Bitcoin on your mind and on your radar. It also kind of moves with SPY a little bit. I mean, it's gonna move SPY too, but it's gonna move with SPY also. So keep that one on your mind and on your radar. Another one is IBIT. I'm personally invested into this in the long term. It's basically an ETF that moves with Bitcoin, and it moves it moves exactly with Bitcoin, but you're not going to make too much money off of it. But if Bitcoin can rally a lot, you can make a lot of money. I think that $100,000 level is that 57 level. I think around that 57 level. So if you can get back up to that 100,000, you can still make around $7 per share, and or buy those option plays, and that's what I'd be doing. So I do got a call option on this, and it is pumping up right now. So yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Let's hope that we can see a green week overall, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Hit those links for some free stocks and some coins, and join the Discord. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.